Got it.
Yeah, it says random shit. This meeting's been recorded. So I know you were just saying, I realized that you then just got onto the topic, but you're just saying you've been absolutely hectic. And because you've been away with a bunch of awesome women.
Yeah. Yes. So the internationals were doing their world record attempt to Land's End John O'Groats, a relay attempt as a group of women, and they did really well. They did really well. I think they were almost 4 hours ahead of their target time, so they've got the record they were after. I think it may even be, someone said it might even be the men's and women's record, because they're not sure the men's one was ever officially recognised by Guinness. But I get a bit confused what is recognised by Guinness and what isn't.
Yeah.
All I know is we jumped through a lot of hoops to get ours authorised. But anyway, so coming back from that, we got to John O'Groats in 46 hours and 3 minutes. I stayed on the coach that was the support car, which then turned right around and came straight back to the depot, which is about 16-hour coach journey from John O'Groats. Oh, because it just moves so slow. Oh my gosh.
Scotland is so massive.
It's a long way, don't get me wrong, but also it took Jordan that amount of time to get home to London from John O'Groats. It took me to get like halfway in the coach.
It was definitely.
But anyway, it was definitely spinning. But anyway, yes, so I got home, and then Jess and the other internationals decided that breaking the record wasn't enough. They were then going to turn around and ride 900 miles back to the start line. So that means she's away for like another 5 or she was away for another 10 days after I left her. So that means here at base, I don't have Jess, and the 2 other staff, the 2 other girls that work for me, are also both on holiday this week. So it means I came back very, very tired into running the campsite, looking after the puppy and looking after the farm, and the normal jam work I have to do as a one-man band, down from a usual 3.5 to 4 people. But it's cool. It's fine. I'm not going to complain. It's being busy. I like being busy. I'm really tired, Chris. Can I stop and have a nap, please?
You can. It would be a very interesting podcast if it's just you asleep, I'll be honest. There will be people that will watch that, though. I'm sure there are people out there.
So if I put up a 12-hour video of me sleeping on YouTube, I imagine some people would watch it.
Okay, can you record it and do it?
Yeah.
Bun and beard video. That's the comeback video, and then just don't post anything for another couple of months.
Yeah.
Just for shits and giggles.
It'd be like that one with that Gandalf when he's just singing that song over and over again. Yeah, exactly. That one. Anyway,
a lot has happened since we last talked. Not just with the internationals doing what they're doing, which is freaking awesome. I was hoping I was going to see them today, but I've just got shitloads of shit to sort out, and not literal shit, just stuff on the weekend.
Oh, that's fine, because I've been cleaning the toilets with literal shit, so I've got that bit covered for you.
You've got that bit covered, thank you. And also the Tour de France has been, which is what we're primarily here to talk about, has been. We're on the rest day today, but these first 9 stages, what the fuck?
I was trying to think in my head if I could sum it up in one word. I don't think I can. It's just been, wow, I suppose would be the word that I would use.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but the fundamental thing that I remember from last time we chatted, what I wanted to see going into the first few days was as few riders as possible hitting the deck.
Yeah,
because it always happens early in the tour. We get people hit the deck and it scuppers the whole tour. And that was straight away. Day 1 and day 2, and we've lost a bunch of key guys that can't really compete now because of the knocks they've picked up.
Yeah.
But everything else that's occurred. But where do we start?
Let's start with the crashes. Like, I'll be honest, I started to find it uncomfortable to watch. I think it was stage 1, stage 2, and then I think there was another one in stage 3, but it wasn't as bad as the stuff that happened in stage 1 and 2. And as you say, that straight away impacted, the main contenders. Primoz, he's now left the race. Geraint Thomas dislocated his shoulder. hardest man in cycling at the moment, but yeah, completely.
I mean, yeah.
And that's
yeah, and again, as I said to you before, we always see this tour after tour. People hit the deck and write themselves off, and I think it's part of bike racing. The thing that really struck me in this tour was just how many crashes in those first day or two.
Oh, it's crazy.
Just how I don't know the way around it, because the peloton are moving as quick as they've ever moved in this era of cycling. The officials are putting a lot of thought and a lot of work into course design to try and mitigate crashes, and it's still not quite right. Yeah. Something still isn't quite right. There was talk, I was listening to people speak the other day about how for the GC contenders, they neutralize it with 3K to go effectively. That should be dragged back apparently to, 15 or 20 and let the sprinters compete the sprint. But even then, I'm not, we're seeing crashes dotted throughout the course sometimes. I don't know that would fully solve the problem. Can you solve the problem?
Yeah.
Are people always going to fall over because it's a bike?
I mean, I guess there's different points to look at this. So the first thing is, as I said, some of the major GCs were affected by this, which is horrible to see. Then you look at it, and some of the best domestiques in the world have been affected by this. Tony Martin, Robert Hessing, who's out of the race now, which is incredibly sad. With the courses and the routes, yes, there's definitely so much research that's been going into the routes. But the other argument of it is there's a financial implication of the routes going through certain towns and villages, a tourist attraction, so to speak. Some of these roads are just are not appropriate for the points where the stage passes through. I don't think. The stage where Cav won the sprint, where Sagan and Caleb Ewan came down, the first one, that was sketchy as balls to go ride that. I'd say that was sketchy to ride that on outside of the tour, and then you take into account the speed they're riding on it. It was pretty. Yeah. But I understand the Tour de France is such a massive tourist thing for the local areas. But there's something, I don't know what the solution is. I agree with you, but it's something that there must be a solution to it. It's just, what is it, quite frankly?
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? I mean, you'd almost think, can they make passing through towns and villages, literally passing through, and the key crunch points of races occur outside of towns, where we've got a bit more elbow room to work with? But we even see it, even when they widen the road in sprints, you'll still see guys hit the deck. I mean, perhaps it's the case that we can't get rid of it completely with insider sprinting. I think what you and I would both like to see is that it not impacting the whole rest of the peloton in such a way that the non-sprinters are cancelling themselves out before they've even got to the mountains. Did Primoz even ride over 1,000-meter elevation before he's left the tour, up a hill? I don't think so. He did manage the first few hills, and then he's pulled the plug. Yeah.
The other, unfortunately, the incident with the woman with the sign, is horrible to see. It was really horrible to watch. But there's two stances to it. It's you understand that there's an element of, she obviously feels incredibly guilty for it, 100%. So if she doesn't, she's not human. That's it.
I think she will feel. I think it's safe to say she feels incredibly guilty.
Yeah, but there seems to be a misunderstanding in a protocol and what to do in those situations. And we see it year after year in Grand Tours where fans come so close to the riders going up mountains as well. And there's point, when the same thing, you think, fuck, that's a bit too close. It's a couple of years ago when Nibali got brought down by someone's jumper. I can't remember. Get up 1-2 or something like that, and that was him out the race.
There's been flags that have come across. It's a tricky one, because I don't know. Again, how do you police that? You're covering it's such a long race course that people can join and stand anywhere. It's part of the whole beauty of what they tell us cycling is about. It's what the cycling governing bodies and UCI are always telling us is the important thing. You can go for free and stand on the side of the road and watch it, but how do you police that from someone getting too overexcited or losing concentration, or focusing like this lady, focusing just on the wrong thing, focusing on being on telly and not focusing on what's going on right in front of her. And I found it very interesting, the threat of legal action and the fine and this kind of nature, which was pretty quickly pulled. They pretty quickly took that threat away. I thought they were doing it as a scare tactic.
Yeah, I agree.
To try and encourage others to kind of just think a bit more mindfully. And if so, having seen that incident probably will encourage enough others to think more mindfully. But when it's up the side of a mountain and people have been waiting there all day, beer or not, getting excited, just getting amped about watching it come through, you see him get closer and closer and closer to the riders.
Yeah.
Sometimes that they're barely a foot away from the riders, if at all. And you can't rely on the crowds to self-police it.
No, because they're there to enjoy it and enjoy the experience, to be part of the experience.
So again, is it just one of those things that every now and again that's going to happen?
Yeah. Did you see that? I can't think who it was. One of the Movistar riders is still planning to sue her.
Yeah, I mean, and
Marc Soler, I think it was.
Marc Soler, who was out pretty quickly after that, wasn't he? Which is a shame. I had picked him in my fantasy team, so that was annoying for me. But I suppose that's his right as a rider to go and pursue that. I think the same as if somebody had done that to him and he was out on a train ride on his own, and one had stepped off the pavement in front of him whilst trying to get his attention for a photograph or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of scenarios, but I think that so be it, because then you allow what you hope would be an independent judge and jury to decide the case based on what's right or the law of the land. I think her guilt alone will probably cripple her, to be honest.
I mean, she's got the hatred of. I think she's probably the most hated person at the time in cycling by a country yard.
Could you imagine being her social media profile?
Yeah, could you imagine being her grandparents, who the sign was for?
I mean, they're going to feel pretty bad and all. It's a messy situation, but like I said, are there always going to be times where things like this happen because of the nature of the course? You can't have barricades everywhere. You just can't. You can't have police everywhere with eyes on everything, or stewards everywhere. Sometimes people are going to get carried away.
I agree. Anyway, that's
a shame. It's a shame.
That's all the negative parts done. We've covered that bit. I don't want to dwell on that too much. What I would like to cover is the stage winners that we've had. It felt very much like, personally, I was like, the first couple of days was like, man, I couldn't have picked better winners for these stages. Yeah. Getting the yellow jersey on the first day, perfect, great. He's a French rider,
Yeah, agreed. I think that somewhat signaled for me his kind of intent for the race. I think that kind of showed that he's like, cool, I'm going to get in this early because I don't know where I'm going to be. I think he was looking around the field going, this is packed full of hitters right now. Let's get my bit in early. Let's get this jersey now, because I don't know if I can compete when this gets to the bigger hills. Other years we've seen him kind of pop up later into the race and feature later. I think he didn't think he was going to get there this year. So it was good to see him have his day and take that yellow. I just felt like he wasn't going to hold on to it for long.
Well, lo and behold, he didn't hold on for it too long.
Lo and behold, he didn't. Yeah.
But one of the things that was one of the best images I have from that opening stage was the celebration of Alaphilippe, and literally next to him was a very, very distraught Mathieu van der Poel.
Yeah.
Handlebars. He's an emotional guy. He's very emotional when it comes to racing. Pays a lot of respect to the history of racing with his dad and his granddad, and he just wants to win. And there was him over the bars looking absolutely distraught by it. And then the next day, that was a masterclass on how to get the yellow jersey by picking up the extra bonus seconds throughout the stage and then winning. It was fantastic to see.
He is a bike racer.
Oh yeah,
simple as that. You don't. If you were to look up bike racer in an encyclopedia or a dictionary, there should be a picture of him and how he goes about his trade. And yeah, I think you're right. I think you saw that in his expression after stage one, and then how he applied himself day two.
Yeah, and
absolutely cracking.
And not just how he applied himself in day two, how he subsequently applied himself every day that he was in the yellow jersey.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I really value and enjoy him being part of any race. If there's a race and he's in it, I'm paying attention.
Yeah, he makes it exciting to watch, and it was. It's a shame he's now pulled out of the tour, and Tim Merlier's gone as well. So that's two down.
Oh, Merlier gone as well. Yeah.
As well. I don't think he made the time cut yesterday.
I think you're right. I think I did see a note about that. Yeah. I'd heard that Van der Poel went so he didn't get thrown out for giving a child a bottle. Has that been confirmed?
No, he's gone because he's going to the Olympics for mountain biking.
Yeah, good. I hope that's the case. Someone told me yesterday, and I didn't have enough time to fact check it. Someone said he was about to get sanctioned for handing out bottles to kids, and so he pulled himself out. And I said, it's got to be for the Olympics. And this guy said, no, it's this. No. And I just I don't have time to look this up.
It's the Olympics.
Okay, yeah.
Merlier's gone, and Arnold Demar didn't make the time cut. And neither did, who's the other one? Arnold Demar and Brian Cockard and Nick Delamini. So Delamini didn't make the time cut because he crashed and was subsequently quite far behind, but insisted on finishing this stage to respect the tour, which is fantastic. I've got a lot of respect for that. Demar, Brian Cockard and Tim Merlier just didn't make the time cut. And I think some of their domestics as well didn't make it.
Yeah, I think that's right. We hadn't seen a whole bunch out of those guys. I'm not surprised with the weather conditions the way it was, and then that big climb up to, was it Teen by that stage? I mean the pace at which the front of the race was at was going to make that really. If I was sat back there in those gruppettos looking around, like, this is going to be hard work now. They have to be damn well organised and motivated as well. You'll be really motivated to get up over those hills, knowing for the sprinters, more hills and more hills to come.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I can't remember exactly what the number was, but I think it was 32 minutes and something seconds that the gruppetto had to get over to the finish.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that some of them were at that point 40 minutes behind.
Yeah.
You know, one of the most, I know this is yesterday's stage, but one of the images that was so really lovely to see at the end was Cav's emotion at getting over the mountain in time with 2.5 minutes with all his team helping him get over. Like I would imagine that is as big a deal for him as winning one of the stages has been.
Yeah, I imagine it'd have a similar impact. And again, it goes back to what I was thinking about Coquart and Demar and these kind of guys. You know, if you're nowhere near the green jersey in points at the moment, if you've had the first few sprint stages and you've been outgunned at all of them, you're looking around, slogging your way up to team, which it's a long way up there. You're probably thinking, what? Do I really want to get over this mountain? Because I've got 6 or 7 more mountain days before I get another shot at a sprint. And even then, I'm getting my arse handed to me. It must really crack you in the head. You've got to really, really want to get to the end. The Champs-Élysées is a long way away at this stage. Yeah.
So it was 8 riders that were out of the time cut yesterday.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah, it's an exception.
Yeah. And again, I think part of that is a testament to how vicious the front of the race has been anytime we pointed uphill. Anytime we're going uphill, oh my word, what a group just disappearing off the front, attacking each other to shreds to make an early stand in this race.
It's the most aggressive racing at a Grand Tour I think I've seen in, I'm going to put it bluntly, Lance Armstrong times.
I was about to say since Lance, since the way he used to race. Yeah. I agreed. I think what the front of that race, what that's looked like in the last few days has been kind of mesmerizing.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bain? Mesmerizing? She just noticed I've got my lunch set up here on the desk, so she's climbed up to see if she can get herself some. Yeah, and you just look at the makeup of those groups. These are like out and out big mountain climbers up there, and still they're suffering.
Yeah,
you know, look at Quintana, like rolling off the back of an elite climbing group because he just can't hack how it was going. I mean, the weather hasn't helped.
No, the weather has not helped, and you know we've seen in the past Quintana does tend to get affected by bad weather, but hello again. Yeah, Bean's paying attention now. We had seen in the past how Quintana does get affected by the bad weather, but also it's, you know, you look at these guys that are climbing, their body fat level is so freaking low that they feel to the extreme. They feel the cold to the extreme. And
especially a lot of these guys that will spend the bulk of the year in very pleasant climates for their training. You know, like I know, like Valverde, for instance, he will only stay in really nice, warm places. He doesn't go and stay up in the high mountains where it rains a lot. And that's just how he likes to compete. And that's how he likes to train. But then when it starts raining in competition, you watch that guy shiver. Just not used to it.
Yeah, it's you know, each to their own. I see the benefit. I mean, I'd rather be riding in the sun, you know, every day than in the rain. I'd be perfectly honest. I think most of us would, but when you're in the situation that you can choose, fair enough. But yeah, has been crazy. The speed that they've been going up the mountains. Like, I am slightly suspect.
I hear you. So for me, the interesting differential is the speed with which people have been wiggling their way up the hill, but then the trains, you know, the Sky Train, the familiar sights we're used to seeing, just not really making that much of a dent in those climbers. You know, you see the first few days of hills, and the Sky Train comes to the fore, like, come on then, it's game time then, and just still getting pulled apart.
Yeah. It's and as you say, it's an elite group of like maybe not even 10 riders at the moment, and I really hope it is that we are in a generation of riders coming through who are supremely talented, but this generation that's starting to come through, that one of the things that I was writing down last night, what I was thinking, what are the reasons that are explaining for how strong some of these guys are? And some of the things that stood in my mind is that this is probably one of the first generations in, I think, ever, which has had the ability to use power meters from youth.
Yeah.
The knowledge of nutrition, coaching, the science side from a very young age, which I don't think so many would have had that before.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, all those tools have been around for a while, right? But they were the preserve of the already professional rider.
Yes, it's much more accessible.
I suppose now, you know, if you're a 14-year-old kid and your parents see a bit of potential in you, or you can get some coaching relatively easily. You can get a power meter on your bike. You can get some input for your heart rate and your training and your sleep and all these things from a much earlier age. You're right. I mean, I look at Pogacar and I look at his stature and the way he's built, and I just don't know how he does it. Yeah. I don't know how that amount of power comes out of somebody of that size and shape, but he does.
It does, yeah.
A bit like you, I was making a mental note. I was looking, going, crikey, what has he done here to be so good? And I was coming up short in my answers, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I was, and it's been going around in a lot of WhatsApp groups and stuff that I'm in, and I really do genuinely hope that he is just as good as he is, but I
don't, because if he is, no one stands a chance for a decade.
To be fair, that is true. Well, the reason I hope he is, because I think it would be such a shame if it is tainted.
I agree with that. Yeah,
but I do. I'm not just calling him out as a rider. I think there's the potential. There's a couple of that kind of that. The thing is with how doping works in the past. Yeah, and I'm just going to say it now because we are fundamentally talking about that. Was everyone sort of been chatting like, oh, he can't, XYZ can't be because they would have been caught when they've got tested. The thing is that when it was happening and it was rife in cycling, people were being tested. It's just that they found ways to get around the test.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? And it's one of those things that I don't know. Will we ever know the extent to which teams go to try and bend rules and break rules and things like that? I don't know. Part of me doesn't want to know. But again, I hope it isn't tainted. I'm going to assume it's not until I hear otherwise.
Yeah.
But when I look at that rider, I go, wow, there is something in there that is just really, really, really strong, really good that I just can't figure. I mean, we might have been thinking differently if Roglic, Thomas hadn't hit the deck early. If the weather had been a bit more stable, we might be seeing a few more people in that group around him and it looking a bit more even.
Yeah, Adam Yates.
But again, but my watching him just accelerate past Yates in the last day or two up the side of a hill. And at this point, Yates has been working hard up the head of the race, but Pogacar just as if he wasn't there. It was reminiscent of Lance. It really was, and you can't help draw that comparison. If you ever watch Lance race, you can't help but draw that comparison. Like you say, hopefully he's just the product of a really, really good system that they've been able to apply to youth level. But think back to Lance when, if you ever read any of his exposés or his books and that kind of stuff, he was training at a very strong level from when he was 14.
Yeah.
He was training. He had all the data that was available, coaching that was available at the time. He had that when he was 14. That some systems are improved now and some systems are cheaper and more accessible. But if you were a very, very good youth identified by the National Triathlon Federation or National Swimming or running or cycling, they give you tools to work with. So, there's perhaps not a huge difference there in what a rider has had from a young age.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a really good point. It's a really, I think it's going to be something that's going to be debated for a long time. And the reason why I'm bringing it up as well is like, I heard from, I can't say who because I get in trouble. But like you look at Primoz's TT last year at the Tour de France, the last stage or second to last stage, he actually rode a pretty good TT, like by his standards. It wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't.
Yeah.
Everyone has this perception that he completely blew up. It actually, the power numbers and everything weren't bad. They weren't that bad at all. So that's where, I don't know, it's all. We could discuss it for ages. It's one of those things where it's just like, what the fuck? And
you're right. We could, and I think we shouldn't, because again, it's one of those things that we have to take it in this modern era. I think we have to take it that everybody's clean and playing by the rules until someone shows us otherwise. And there are people out there that will work on this stuff on our behalf and figure it out for us. And until then, we've got to look at him and go, wow, he is absolutely killing it. Which leads me on to my key question of the day is, is the race run? Has he got this boxed off? Is it now just a case of him following the wheels and waiting for Paris to come to him?
Well, is it basically a fight for podium now? Second and third?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Thomas, or if you're, I'm trying to think who else is potentially got a team around to do any damage now. Do you see any? Sorry, Carapaz. Yeah, do you see any way back? Catcher's got to do is follow your wheel. If you go, he's just got to stay with you. It's been interesting to see the UAE team come to the front and try and rise as a team and work as a team. Yeah. it was also interesting to see how quickly that team evaporates as the hill goes up the hill. How quickly they kind of, you're used to seeing a Sky train remain on the hill for a long ass time. I don't think the UAE train quite have the same stamina as some of the great Sky and Ineos trains, but it hasn't seemed to make a difference thus far.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to get up the current overall standings. So where are we rankings? So currently we have got in the yellow jersey. Oh, come on, Tour de France website. It's frozen on me. That's not good. So I don't think the Tour de France website's very well made. Anyway, I'm back. I've got it.
Oh, no, I hate it. Yeah, gross.
Pogacar's leading. Yeah, we know that. Yep. Second place is Ben O'Connor now after yesterday. I mean,
great ride.
Amazing ride. And
what ride?
So, and for someone that's had so much ups and downs in his racing career, not having he didn't have a contract at the start of the year.
Yeah.
So for him to have got that stage win, and he was dreaming about getting into yellow, and it was possible at one point, and it would have been incredible.
I mean, what a stage, well ridden. Yeah. I mean, hats off to the guy for banging ride, and I think we needed that. Everyone needed to see somebody else like have a good shot, and not just see Pogacar just rally up there and win that stage.
Yes, I completely agree. Third place is Rodrigo, and he's still 5 minutes down.
Rigoberto
Urán is in third, 5 minutes down.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's a block of riders around the 5 minutes down. They're pretty close. You've got Vingegaard, Urán, Carapaz, Enric Mas, Kelderman, and then Lutsenko is 6:12 down. And then you've got Guillaume Martin, 7:02. David Gaudu is 7:22. So
and again, all these are all names on the road the other day. Pogacar just wiggled his way past.
I know.
Just literally just came up from behind them. Guillaume Martin is a great example there. Saw him, got to him, picked him off, shot straight past him. And they couldn't respond. They couldn't jump on the wheel. Now, sure, they were both in a slightly different phase of the race. Martin had been up the road a lot, working hard to kind of go for the stage win. But Pogacar had to come from a long way back to catch him.
Yeah.
And he disappeared.
You see, I can't think which DSM rider it was, but there was a DSM rider who was literally laughing when Pogacar rode past him.
Really, yeah. Again, and if that ain't reminiscent of a Lance era, I don't know what is.
Laughing, shaking his head while he's got this guy riding past him.
Yeah, and again, that's not to. I'm not trying to sow more doubt into the topic we've already talked about. What I'm trying to highlight is those guys that are in that kind of 5 minutes back block. Yeah. Do they even stand a chance? I can't see how any of them could look to gain back a couple of minutes, let alone 5.
And it's the way that he's continually aggressively riding to make more time.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is riding so well. It's going to take, how would you break him down here? It's going to take teams colluding together to make things hard for him. But if you recall the way he won last year's Tour, he just sat in the back of the lead group the whole time. He just let the front runners take punches at each other, and he just sat in the wheels. Didn't leave Roglic's wheel the whole time.
Didn't even have a team last year, really.
Exactly. He won without a team. He did what Sagan's always been doing for years as a sprinter. He kind of wiggled his way in, took whichever wheel he needed, and just waited and bided his time. Now he's got so many minutes in the bank, he can just repeat that.
I think it was before yesterday's stage. He had 6 minutes?
I think so.
It's mental to have that this early on in the tour.
Yeah. And it's taken an exceptional ride from Ben to kind of just kind of change that up a little bit, But what I don't think Ben O'Connor is a genuine GC contender. Next time we're going up the hills, is he one of these that we're seeing slip out the back because he's spent a load of his matches? Is that time going to change very rapidly? And all of a sudden we're back to having a 5, 6, 7 minute gap between first and everybody else.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say it's not going to be interesting, because so far every day has had something great in it for me. Every day I've been intrigued and enjoyed the tour. But I do worry now coming into got the Alps to work our way through. What's that gonna look like after another day in the high hills? Because Pogacar could basically put the thing to bed soon.
Because I think we've realistically got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 big mountain stages left. Then you've got a couple of 1, 2, 3, 4 rolling ones, and then 2 flat ones.
Yeah. What are the next? I forget. What are the next kind of 3 or 4 stages in terms of their profile?
So stage 10, I've just got like a brief overview in front of me because I left my magazine upstairs. I'll be honest. Stage 10 looks like more of a rolly one.
Yeah.
11 is a mountain one. 12 is a rolly one. 13 is a rolly one. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 are mountains.
Yeah. So again,
it's a double Von 2 one, I think, isn't it?
Which one's that?
17, I think, maybe.
Yeah, that rings a bell. I mean, and the thing is, we want to get to Von 2 and something be in contention. We want to get to Von 2 and want to be looking at some really good bike racing. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I can get excited about most things, but I'll struggle to get excited about a punch off for 3rd place. Yeah. I struggle to get excited about the polka dot jersey tussle in the same way. So yeah, I mean, hopefully there's some work that some of the teams can do to try and really put Pogacar under pressure.
So the Von 2 stage is stage 11.
Oh, 11. Okay, that's a lot closer.
Yeah, stage 11. Stage 17 is just a ridiculously hilly day, basically. So
okay, yeah.
Stage 11 is you climb up Von 2, Chalet Reynard, and then you descend into Bedouin, and then you climb up again all the way to the top, and then you've got the descent again. It's just
so are they coming up the same ascent both times? Bedouin climb both times?
No, they're not.
No.
So they're doing doing the salt climb up.
Oh, Salt Lad, the easy one.
The easy one for the first climb, then the descent, then Bedouin up, and then the descent.
Sorry, just to reiterate, Salt to Chalet Reynard or Salt to the top?
To the top.
Okay, great. So they're doing. Okay, so it's the easy one, but with still the hard bit at the top. So it's not that easy.
Total climb. Yeah. Classed it as a category 1, the first one, and then they classed the second one as a HC.
Yeah, which makes sense because that climb up from Bedouin to Chalet Reynard is much more difficult. Again, what we really want to see there is a classic Tour de France stage. Now, hopefully, luckily, we'll have people competing to win that day. So, if it's the case that the yellow jersey battle is done and dusted, hopefully we'll see some people punching it out to win that day and the honor of winning that stage, because that's going to be a damn hard bike ride. Yeah. If Ben O'Connor's still got something in his legs, he's the kind of guy that's going to be looking at that. Quintana's put his nose in the wind a few times. You've got to think that he's going to want to try and cement the polka dot and also have a big grand stage under his belt. Yeah. And again, there's a few others that have shown themselves and seemed like they want to get up the front of the race.
Mm.
Oh, it's just whether or not any of them have got the legs to finish it off.
That's crazy, isn't it? The other, I mean, it feels like it could end up being this battle for the polka dot and for the podium and the points. The youth jersey is already wrapped up, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And next in the youth jersey is Vingegaard, who is having a great ride. Let's not deny.
We're seeing a lot of him. Yeah,
he's having a great ride, but he is also now definitely 2 teammates, maybe 3 teammates down. Jumbo Visma.
Yeah.
Robert Hessing's gone. Primoz has left. I don't think another one's left, but he is not got a team around him anymore, really. And you can't deny he's having a great ride. So
and his role was a helper in the high mountains for Primoz. There's not many other blokes in that team that I can think of that are going to be his helper that's, maybe one or two. But yeah,
that's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So we could see what we've seen already. We could see a group of elite climbers up the front taking punches out of each other to see who can stand the pace the longest.
Yeah.
And I hope that is the racing we see going up Von 2 instead of what we saw the other day, which was that, and then Pogacar just wiggle himself out of nowhere and still kind of make some of them look a bit dumb, to be honest.
Yeah. So the other thing the next thing I wanted to bring up was the time trial. Now, I love time trials on France, and what I love about it is not just the fact that it's obviously with time trialing you can buy a lot of speed, but it's a very true form of racing because you take away from it. Obviously, in the Tour de France, it's that thing where it is a race and it is against each other. So they are, and some are limited by their sponsors, etc., etc. But why I like time trialing is literally how much power can you churn out for this amount of distance. That's simple. That's what I like. And going back to Mathieu van der Poel, what a gutsy ride by him for someone that's not a time trialist. It was really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I only got to read the write-up at this stage. This is when we were deep into the Internationals trip. It's probably the one I've seen the fewest highlights of and had a good read-up on. But yeah, I mean, I've heard glowing things about how he took it on. Like you, having ridden a lot of time trials, I love time trialing. I think it's a great and pure form of racing. Yeah. I think we still got one more to come, right?
Yeah, one more.
Yeah. Because the only thing I fear about an early time trial is that a lot of people sandbag a lot of energy. If you're not if you're not thinking you're going to be one of those 2 or 3 people at the top of the tree, are you really giving it everything? Yeah. I love a late time trial in the Tour. I think is really, really enjoyable. But I suppose again, conversely with that, it'll be a case of who's still competitive then.
Yeah, exactly. We saw time trial specialists get beaten. Got beaten. European champion, incredible time trialist. And as I say, Mathieu van der Poel who is not a time trialist, had an amazing ride just to try and keep.
No.
And the extent that his team went to try and keep him in yellow by going non-sponsor for a lot of stuff that was impressive. And at the time I was of that stage, I was with the Aerocoach guys, guys and girls. I was with Jess and Zav and the other guys that worked there, and they were stressing out to high heaven because they were trying to get stuff to Alpecin Phoenix.
Really? Yeah.
Because they'd had a request, and you look at these kind of things that, they didn't go, they got a Princeton disc wheel, which was one of the Ineos riders' training wheels, the guy that's the triathlete guy as well. Because he needed a disc and, putting the Titan on the front, changing the extensions to the Aerocoach extensions, wearing a Lazer helmet. So not even a sponsor correct helmet. Obviously, he has to be in the yellow jersey for it, which is, I think is a penalty in its own right. Not just being the yellow jersey, just because it's a kit that's you've not had tested to you really. But that was fascinating, and it's fascinating. You see it on quite a few teams where they do go, especially for time trials, non-sponsor appropriate stuff, because we're seeing it now that it's a place where teams are kind of going, this is a good place to make some time.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? And I think we touched before on Rowan Dennis about his approach to wanting the correct bike for his kind of the discipline he's best at. Yeah. Time trial is such a technical sport. So much goes into it that if you're a rider riding a sponsored bike and full well their time trial bike is an absolute donkey, then you're going to be looking around going, right, how on earth do I make this better? Because at the moment I'm hindered already, and we're talking really fine margins here. And I mean some offense when I say this to some brands, but if you're a brand, if you're a Merida, for instance, you know, how much work have you really put into how good your time trial bike is? I'd say not that much compared to the work that other brands that really kind of specialize in that arena have put into it. So if you're asking your athletes to go and then be competitive at the biggest race in the world on this machine, you're handing them a disadvantage. So I like you, I do like to see where riders have gone, right, how do we go off label, how do we go off script and keep ourselves competitive, and more importantly, can we eke out a little bit more? Can we get ahead of the game here? Because there's so many tweaks and variations you can make to make it better.
It was even down to the extent of, like, obviously I think Wheels is quite well known. The extensions and stuff for bikes is quite well known. So many custom made extensions. The one that the amount of bikes now which we're seeing with oversized pulley systems installed on them, specifically time trialing stage, because it helps with chain efficiency. I didn't notice so many wax chains. I'll be honest, I didn't see so many wax chains as we have seen in the past at the Tour de France. But I did notice a lot of teams were not riding sponsor appropriate tires.
Yeah,
a lot of that comes down to it's a simple test of rolling resistance. We know which tires are the best. Like for that kind of an out race, we know what's the best. It's been tested very well. And
and that data is so. And again, the guys at Aerocoach will preach us to you all day long. You know, the data's there for you. If you could put something on that's a bit quicker, you're probably going to do it for that stage, aren't you?
To put new tires on than it is to change it, put an oversized jockey wheel on, for example.
It's such a strange thing, isn't it? I was thinking this the other day when I was looking at I was looking at Nairo Quintana. And I was thinking, if I was him,
he's a great time trialist.
I wasn't looking at his time trial setup, but I think if I was him and I'd joined a team, you know, and you get handed certain bits of kit, like, do you look at it and go, yeah, I am pumped to wear this really ugly pair of sunglasses, or what is this helmet I'm about to put on my head? Or do you just have to grow this this thick skin of it? It's been like, I don't care what I look like. Just give me the gear and I'll work with whatever you've got. It must be really difficult as the bike rider. It must be really difficult. I suppose, you know, the performance aspect is definitely one thing, but then sometimes you must feel like, I look like a complete ninny. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
What of the World Tour teams do you think is the worst at the moment? What the teams at the Tour de France do you think is the worst look?
To do this fairly, I would have to go and double check them all with their official photograph, and I'll have an answer for you the next time we talk. How's that?
That's a good deal.
Because I want to make sure I'm not missing anything from having watched the last few days of the tour and having certain things stick out in my mind as particularly offensive.
Yeah, go worst and best. I've got a very particular opinion on worst and best as well.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? So again, that wraps back into the time trial stuff. From that point of view, you're looking for, is the kit going to enable me to give my best performance? Am I going to stay competitive, and can I find an edge? You know, and I think we'd both be surprised if you were to look at it behind the scenes, how often a team is looking at the kit they've got and going, "Oh, we're not competitive with this. We need to bridge the gap back to being competitive, let alone trying to get ahead." And then over and above that, it's then the aesthetics thing of like, oh, cool, I'm pushing, what brand is this that I'm advertising? Because it's not very nice.
There are some helmets in the Tour de France and sunglasses that I look at and I'm just like, oh my God.
Right?
It looks so shit.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't want to see everybody all in the same thing, and, you know, sponsors are such a, without sponsors, the sport doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, is as a pro rider, when you get handed your kit at the start of the year, you must just kind of like peer into the bag with kind of like, oh God, what's going to be in here? Oh, I'd rather not look.
It's quite funny, isn't it? I've dropped my pen. I don't know where I dropped it. Hello. It appears to have been eaten by the floor monster, it seems.
If I dropped a pen, it would be eaten by my dog monster.
No, that's she wouldn't want this one. It's a permanent black marker. I don't really know why I'm playing.
Mate, should give it a go. I promise you that.
So Obviously,
So
not covered that I really want to cover.
yeah,
A certain Manx man.
a certain Manx man. Yeah, I'm trying to think back to what we said the other day. I think I was slightly more pessimistic than you. I think I said, I'd love to see him a glimmer of his old self, get stuck in early, win a stage. But I suspect, he might be a one-trick pony. That might be over and done with early, and then he'll fade away.
Yeah.
God, I'm glad I was wrong.
Mate, I think I cried a little bit.
Did you? Yeah.
It was really emotional. Like,
yeah.
My washing machine's done, just so you know.
I wondered what that was. Yeah.
I was probably.
I can remember specifically. We were on the coach up in the high hills in Scotland, and we were sat on top of the hill waiting for a rider to come through for the internationals, and one of the drivers had been like, "Oh, I've actually got a Fire Stick and Wi-Fi, so you can watch the tour." I was like, "Gimme." Because we were on a hill, he had signal, whereas in the valleys we didn't. And I put it on just in time to watch Cav go and win. And the noise I made was absurd. The people at the top of the bus thought I'd like keeled over and had a problem. They came running down. Like, what's the matter? I was like, the telly. Watch it, the telly. Oh, it's so good.
It was. What was so amazing to see about it was that first stage win that he won was technical as fuck. Like, it was a messy sprint. It was snaking through riders, and it was literally like watching Cav, 5-10 years ago when he first started racing. Like, the hunger was there, the cockiness was back. He had the moment he won it, there was this I'm getting shivers thinking about it. There was just this outpour of emotion, and it was beautiful to see. Like, very genuine, raw emotion from and written off by so many people.
I completely agree with you. And it must have been really it must have been so satisfying for the team and the team around Cav. I mean, for Cav, obviously, goes without saying, but for the team around him and the people that have put him in that position, they must have sat back and after a couple of days and gone, wow, yeah, we've just been vindicated in all our choices here. Because, our main guy who won green last year wasn't here, but, we've taken a punt on some we knew we could deliver. Oh, by the way, all you other Muppets who've had him for the last 3 or 4 seasons, this is how you do it. This is how you get the best out of Cav. Really, really, really pleasing. And it has made that green jersey battle captivating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the standings, Cav is leading the standings. And I think he's on like 160 points, something like that.
Right.
Cav's on 168 points. Second is Michael Matthews on 130.
Yeah.
Third is Sonny Cabrelli on 121.
Yeah.
That was a proper, like, what the fuck finish from Cabrelli yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't get my head around that. Didn't he come?
Yeah.
He was like freaking. I can't even think what it was now. He was third or something, going up the mountains yesterday. Cabrelli, he was third.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what to make of that one, to be honest with you. Cabrelli and Matthews is a great example of someone who's just he's playing the numbers game. He's always kind of there or thereabouts at the sprint and the intermediates, right? Just constantly accruing points, scanning his way through it. Cabrelli, I'm not quite sure where that came from.
We'll see how he goes in the next few mountain stages. But if he does, it's just like, wow, what the fuck?
You got to assume he's not going to get very far because, again, the inverse of that. Look at all the other sprinters fighting desperately to avoid the cutoff. 36 minutes back or whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the green jersey standings. As I said, Cav is leading it on 168. Michael Matthews on 130. Sonny Cabrelli on 121. Jesper Philipsen is 102. I'm not sure if I think he's still in the race. Alaphilippe is next on 99. Nasser Bouhanni on 99. Pogacar on 89. What the fuck? Sagan on 72. Mohoric on 62 and Kasper Asgreen on 50. That's the top 10. There's not a lot of sprinters left as it is.
No, yeah, that's true. That's true. And, it'd be interesting to see how Sagan deploys himself over the coming days, because, he's quite a big fan of trying to take that, kind of, if there's a sprint stage, day 14, day 15, he usually fares quite well over the mountains coming into those kind of stages. So he's probably looking at one of those thinking, this is my shot. But if not outside of that, he's got to be thinking, I don't know how well suited the Olympics is to a sprint this year, but I imagine he's thinking Olympics, isn't he? Or is he thinking, this is my last big hurrah, I'm going to cling on for the Champs-Elysees?
So the Olympics is hilly as fuck.
Oh, right. Yeah, well then. Yeah. There we go. He's probably not worried about that too much.
Yeah. But I mean, it's seeing Cav win that first stage and then seeing the team look after and guide him to get the intermediate sprint points as well. Like it's been a proper masterclass on how you do that. Generally speaking. They've done it, Cav getting in the breakaway the other day and getting the sprint points. It's beautiful to see. Him then winning that second stage, which is he's won there 3 times.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's cracking.
First Tour de France win was there.
Yeah, I remember reading that. It's that's supremely impressive. Especially if you think about the time span that's occurred between his first and this one. Yeah. What is he now? 2 away from the record, or 2 away from equaling the record?
2 away from equaling it.
Yeah. So I mean, that team, he's got a really strong team around him to do stuff like this. Hopefully, they can keep enough riders on the bikes, rubber side down, to keep on fighting and keep working towards that jersey, because that will be a great achievement for them. An achievement they're well set up to achieve. Don't get me wrong, they're the kind of team that should be winning something like that. But it's going to be a lot of hard work to keep on going, keep Cav getting him through the mountains. That double Von 2 day, I bet he's looking at that in 2 days' time. And again, if you've got an elite punch out at the top of the field for the win, the time gap is going to come into play again.
Yeah.
It's a lot. What's that? Almost 4,000 meters elevation that day.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully his team can rally around him, keeping in there. Because I mean, how good would that be to see Cav in Paris in green?
Alaphilippe leading him out on the Champs-Elysees.
Which will happen, and we've seen it already, and it'll be brilliant. It'll be magnificent. Hopefully he's got enough in the tank there to hold off. I mean, Van der Poel isn't there anymore.
He's
Van Aert. We haven't mentioned Van Aert yet. He's still knocking around.
You're probably if the riders all get to the Champs-Elysees that are currently in the Tour still, of all the sprinters, and I mean, I don't think all of them will, but you're looking at Cav, Michael Matthews, Sonny Cabrelli, Nasser Bourdais, Sagan, Wout van Aert, Dylan Teuns.
Yeah, but if Cav's there, you can't see him losing to anyone that isn't an out and out sprinter on that course.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Bohani's got to have a mega day to beat Cav. Matthews, is probably the most likely to be able to overturn him on the Champs-Elysees, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree. But they've all got to be having a good day to be able to do it. That's the thing.
He's got so much experience there. He'll have the team around him to work with him. That track is suited to him. He's proved it time and time again. Yeah, to overhaul, if he gets there, to overhaul him on the Champs-Elysees will be a mean feat. Yeah, if someone like Caleb Ewan was there, an out-and-out fast man, you'd probably be looking at him. But he's gone. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, that's the battle that I think has captivated me in the Tour de France. I feel like the yellow jersey is it's not interesting to watch right now, but the green jersey there's a battle going on there, and it's captivated me because of, I've got a bias to it, obviously, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think my challenge that I'm going to set myself over the next few days is to, again, I'm giving Pogacar the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying he's a clean rider. I'm saying he's an exceptional athlete.
Yeah.
despite my better judgment, looking at him, going, oh, something doesn't feel right. I'm going to override that. Look, just keep watching this guy, keep being damn impressed at how he rides his bike. I suppose we'll see if we can maintain that mentality come the next rest day. He might have ridden off the front and won 4 more stages, kind of something by then. So who knows? But until then, I'm assuming he's all good. I hope there is enough legs in all the other mountain riders to really light it up.
Same.
I fear that they won't be lighting it up for the yellow, but they'll be lighting up the prestige of winning big boy stages. And don't forget that people like Yates, they've come here saying, I'm here to win stages.
Yeah.
If you're Ineos now, you've got to be looking. I can't remember the last time that those guys wouldn't have won stages at the Tour de France. Probably since their inception, they've got to be looking to go, right, how do we position Carapaz? How do we position Thomas? How do we position Teo? Wiggle your butt up that big hill and go win the stage, fella.
Yeah, and Teo's so far down in the general classification that we wouldn't be classed as a threat if he did.
Yeah. Let's hope they can deploy some tactics like that and get us on the edge of our seats. The thing that would spoil it for me is they deploy tactics like that, and you can just see it. You can see Pogacar just jumping on the wheel, and then he's there. And I think he's just going to be really. If you find yourself in that situation, I think it's going to be really hard to shake off.
I agree.
But again, the beauty is this is bike racing. He's worked really hard for the first 9 days.
Yeah.
But what's to say that they can't get him isolated head to head with Teo or somebody of that nature, and they push him beyond his limits and he cracks, and then all of a sudden that pack that's at 5 minutes back are all then competing for first, second. It's not beyond. We've seen it before.
Yeah, and it instantly makes him become a lot more human.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, to be fair, it would do well for those little voices in my head that's kind of saying, "Oh, look at this fella."
Yeah, completely agree.
I mean, how hard did Yates? I think it was Adam Yates that had the major crack, wasn't it? Right. Yeah, exactly. And that was a spectacular crack apart. If Pogacar had something like that, it would probably make me feel a little bit better about him. Yeah,
I agree. I think we're not, obviously neither of us are trying to cast a judgment directly. We're just discussing on the point that cycling by its nature is incredibly tainted in the past, and as fans of the sport who have seen and witnessed that side of it, we can't kind of inevitably will think about what's happened in the past and how circumstances are present.
You can't unplug yourself from it. If you've been a fan of the sport for a long time like we have, and there are people who have been fans of the sport for 30, 40, 50 years that will struggle now to unplug themselves from that link. It's such a hard race. You could see where people would make the jump in their heads going, this is too hard. I've got to. And that's the danger, isn't it? You struggle to name anything else that is as difficult as competing in the Tour de France. And while it's difficult, people will search their minds and their ethics to find ways to make it easier. Yes,
I agree. Anyway, I'm conscious.
Anyway,
you've got other things to do for the rest of your day, and so do I.
Yeah.
I don't know what you've got to do, but I've got post to post. Very exciting.
Oh, mate, lovely. What's going out the door at 011 today?
Some caps, and the not so exciting one is a piece of cardboard.
Oh, lovely. That's for me.
If you want it, you can have it if you want. It's a piece of cardboard going to Tailfin. We're trying to work out. We're working on something hopefully together. I can't really say because I'm
cool.
But it's a piece of cardboard that's going in the post to Bristol, shall we say? Lovely.
Well, that's great. I've got some mountain bikers that are staying with us here at the campsite at the moment. They've been off on the hills all day, so they are due back in about 20 minutes. So I'm going to go put the hot tub on for them.
Oh, speaking of mountain bikes, I'm going to show you something. 1 second.
Is it a mountain bike?
Nearly.
Oh my! Flip it out the other way. What?
This.
Oh, it's a big box.
It's a big box. It's cardboard, mate. I love cardboard.
we got in there? Some front suspension.
Yes, I will. Hopefully, all fingers crossed and everything. The parts for a mountain bike will be appearing.
Great. There's one. You just need about 47,000 others.
There's actually I think 3 in there. There's forks and some disc brake rotors. That's it.
Oh, lovely.
So there's a lot of stuff in between missing.
Yeah.
And yeah, more on that when it turns up. But hopefully in a week, maybe week and a half.
Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. We'll try and catch up in another few days, shall we? Maybe after Von 2.
That'd be a good time. Let's do that. Let's try and aim for after Von.
Let's do that.
I'm going to stop the recording now.